Welcome to the Open Books Podcast, where we discuss all things going on in the real estate industry, helping you take the road less traveled to real estate success, guiding you to the top 10%. I'm your co-host, Curtis Haddock, alongside Casey Tudor, Brooke Massey, and a special guest today, Mr. Paul Harrington.
Woo!
Bring it!
Thanks for having me today.
It's great to have you out. We're happy that you're here. Thank you for being on.
No problem. Thank you.
Today, we're going to talk about...
I guess insurance.
Did you say Paul?
No, golf.
Oh, golf.
Yeah.
I know nothing about golf.
I don't either.
Well, insurance
Like, I just know
agent
how
and
to-
golf, it usually goes together.
There you go.
There you go.
I only know how to drink beer, talk shit, and drive the golf cart.
Whenever you're on the golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair enough.
I think most people do
That's
that.
half
though,
the
too.
fun.
Or just go to the driving range. I don't know how anybody actually aims that thing.
I mean, typically, I feel like
It's a hard sport.
It is, but whenever I go golfing with people who don't golf, they usually still kick my ass because.
Oh, we should go golfing together then.
Well, like my wife is like, especially like she's just because she doesn't like have a lot of power behind her, and so she doesn't really care. So she's just same thing every time, and
it's probably like
it goes straight. You don't have to hit it hard for it to go far. You know,
I mean, it is a small little ball.
There's some guy at Topgolf that got kicked out because he cleared the net, and like I guess he's like this is online, but it's like
Why'd they
he
kick
knew
him
he was
out?
gonna because he knew he was gonna do it, and they don't really want you to hit it up over the net.
I mean,
Like
I guess
reliability
it's the
reasons?
Point
Over
of the net.
on the sides. or
No,
on
over the
on
back,
the
just
back?
crushed it.
I mean,
That's really hard to do.
that's on them,
And that's
you know?
far.
They need to
Make your net further back.
Was it
Bigger
Tiger
nets.
Woods or
What's
something?
that?
Bigger nets.
Yeah.
Bigger nets.
I mean, did they make it so that the pros can't come golf at Topgolf?
I don't know.
Um,
He crushed it though. I saw it. Well, on
TikTok.
the screen. Yeah.
Yeah. So we told Paul we were coming to talk about insurance,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know we were going to talk about him and golf today.
Yeah. We need a segue.
Golf is not my subject, so I'm horrible as well.
Are you?
Horrible. I'm
Me
not
too.
patient. It's a
Well-
patient man game, and I'm not a patient man.
Yeah.
I think. Well, and it's for sale. People in sales, but people in sales are go. So yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Well, with golf, it's like I feel like you have to spend some time and you have to think about where you're going to aim and make sure you aim correctly.
Well, that's the problem. But
could
that's
go
the problem.
far.
You can't think about it too much.
Well, that's why I don't
Because
know. I
that's
was
when-
trying to think of a segue to
That's
insurance.
when you overthink it.
Because insurance, you got to aim well. I don't know.
Oh my God. We just lost viewers on this one.
That's okay.
I just hope that Topgolf has good insurance for the guy who cleared the net.
Yeah.
If not, I know a guy.
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Speaking
That
speaking
guy.
of insurance, Paul, tell everyone who you're with, what your background is, your experience, and then we're going to jump into kind of the how we can bring realtors and insurance agents together. I mean, obviously, it's we kind of rely on each other and. We send you, deals where we can, but
Especially now more than ever. So.
oh, I know, because insurance costs seem to be going through the roof. There seems to be a lot that is, changing in the industry, and it's constantly changing. But yeah, share your background a little bit, and then we'll get into kind of how this all ties together.
Well, Paul Harrington, I've been an insurance agent for 20 years, so it's pretty much the only thing I've ever done. I always say outside of bartending, it was my first and only job.
It's stuck.
And it stuck. My kids have always asked, what do you do for a living? And it's hard to explain insurance, so I just say I talk for a
Closer
living.
to the mic.
So-
okay.
So I just tell them I talk for a living. But no, I'm a farmer's insurance agent. I've been an agent. I've had a farmer's franchise for 20 years. We're here in Oklahoma, and so homeowners and property, that's kind of where we did all of our marketing out, because those are usually your best clients. So we're very familiar with structure and homeowner insurance, especially in a state where we get tons of hail. We get tornadoes. I mean, we get wildfires. I always say all thing we don't get is a locust here in Oklahoma.
Because we've had like an inland hurricane too
Yeah,
before.
I mean, we get earthquakes. Really, I mean, Oklahoma's a unique for the insurance industry as a whole, because we only have 3 million people and we have major catastrophe storms. So the pool of money isn't necessarily set up for our catastrophe. So that's why a lot of the things that we have that's why you see the premiums in Oklahoma that you do.
Well,
They're awesome.
so is it just a matter of time before insurance companies start abandoning us like they do Floridians?
I don't think, Florida, even though, here's what I would say, when you think natural disasters, believe it or not, a hurricane's the worst.
Yeah.
Because you got to think when a hurricane hits land, it's widespread and it goes
Flooding.
inland. So you're literally talking about lots of square miles of damage. So that the single impact of a hurricane is billions. We've had 2 major tornadoes, for example, here in Oklahoma, like the 2 more tornadoes that most of us have heard of. Those are very extreme tornadoes.
Yeah.
They stay on the ground. They're 2 miles wide for 20 miles. Those do hurricane type disaster. But traditionally, you think tornadoes hit the ground, hit a block, pop back up, run. Tornadoes are horrible, but in Oklahoma, our biggest exposure is hail.
Yeah.
Because hail is like a hurricane. It comes in, it hits square miles, it tears everything up. In Oklahoma, we've had so much hail, I joke, but every roof in Oklahoma is 2010 or newer in Oklahoma City because we've had so many hailstorms the last 15 years that everyone pretty much in Oklahoma City has insurance replace their roofs. They never actually wear out and they do it themselves. So that is an insurance situation. The premiums reflect payouts.
Yeah, and that's actually one thing I think that is becoming. I don't know if an issue is the correct terminology there, but with premium costs going up, I think it's related to all of the roofs that have to be replaced in Oklahoma, and so that actually is going to lead me into like the first topic of discussion. If you were going to be giving advice to other realtors out there. I'm a big believer in just staying in your lane, right?
Yes.
We sell houses, you sell insurance. And so when it comes to the insurance topic, what is something that agents, would you say is important for agents to know, before they send them to you, or I guess at any point in the transaction, like what should agents know, not to where they're crossing over their lane and starting to sell insurance, but what would be important for them to know when it comes to insurance?
Well, especially here in Oklahoma City, there would be 3 things that I would start. If I pretended to be a real estate agent for a day and knowing insurance like I do, the 3 most important things I would tell my client would be, we got to make sure you have replacement costs on the structure. Because
what's replacement cost?
Replacement cost, here's what I say. It's not what your home is worth. That's what a lot of people get stuck on, market value, right? It is the cost to rebuild that home in today's money. So you may even have a 1995 home, but the replacement cost is I need to put the factors of your home in to make sure if something happens to it in 2025, you have $25 to rebuild that square footage, those features back.
Yeah.
So the structure itself, replacement cost is huge, especially in Oklahoma, because we unfortunately do have things where we have total losses on homes. The next thing is roof. This one is getting dicey.
It's changing a lot. Okay, yes.
For 18, I've been in the industry 20 years. The first 18, we could offer lifetime replacement cost on a roof. Long as condition of the roof was good, it didn't matter if it was 18 years old. We could actually endorse replacement cost, which, everybody kind of understands that. They pay for actual cost of the roof minus the deductible. But this hail and these exuberant cost of materials and everything, I'm going to take a step back real quick. One of the things is insurance claims never slowed down. So remember during the pandemic when plywood went from 8 to 40 and all of those things?
Yeah.
I was actually going to say when that was happening, I'm sure, you got to cover that.
Claims don't stop.
Yeah.
So prices were jumping, and it isn't like people's houses weren't having fire. Life didn't change as far as exposure to insurance companies. So basically they were, there's some math person a lot smarter than me that factors premiums to payouts. They couldn't factor that. And so you got to think insurance collects based on what they think's going to happen. And what happened was it went completely opposite of everything they did. So they play catch up. They collect projecting, then payouts happen, and then they catch up. And that's why we're seeing a big part of the rates is I'll give an example of my own home. I built my home in 2013. Original roof put on because I kind of GC'd my own house for $24,000. I put a roof on. In 2021, when a hailstorm came, now this includes tearing it off, which that cost wasn't there originally, but insurance payment on my roof was $101,000, and that was 8 years after building. So just think,
and that's
I paid $70,000 for my first home, and we're talking about $100,000 roof.
Yeah.
Premiums are going to reflect it. So, what I would say is things like coverage wise, replacement cost on your home, because if you're going to pay the premiums, we need the payouts when we need it, because it's not if you're going to have a claim in Oklahoma City, it's when you have a claim.
Yeah.
So roof age is condition is important always. But, and see, this is the part that
roof cost, is that strictly like material increases?
So,
like cost increase?
Yeah,
Is that
material and labor.
majority
Because you're
of
going
it?
to think labor.
Labor too.
All of us that even think about the cost of labor, even for, I wish I'd have brought the paper. But I did. I actually went to, because I also deal with car insurance a lot. So I went to a body shop that I refer lots of business to, and they've been open for a long time. I actually asked them to do a cost analysis for me pre-pandemic compared to now on some basic stuff, like side swiping F-150.
Yeah.
Some things that are kind of common. Labor was 40% higher today in the auto body than it was 5 years ago, because people are demanding, right? I'm worth more than because the way that wages went up and everything during the pandemic.
They're worth more because they know they can work from home now. Is that why I'm just demanding that?
Well, you got to think it's just like you got to think in hiring, even in my process, it's not the same hiring process because of demand of work. They're able to demand more labor. It'd be like, so like a guy who was in there working on the car paint and body, he was making $35 an hour before. Now he's over 40. So all those costs are passed back through.
Is that demand because it's hard to find good quality workers?
Yeah, and the ones that are good demand a higher price than they did previously.
And I feel like that the generation that's coming into the workforce is not going into certain fields. I mean, they want to be influencers.
Skilled laborers are few and far between nowadays.
Low. I mean, and the demand didn't go away from the consumer aspect.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I think all of that rolls back into insurance premiums, because it's shared risk. Everyone's putting in pools, and these pools started pulling out more of the pool, and it's unfortunate. And they're playing catch up. And then when is the stabilization of inflation and all of this? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So, which reflects back to coverage is important. Like the roof, like a lot of the companies nowadays, I'm noticing, we do it at year 13, I do believe. But they're going roof actual cash value anywhere from roof age 7
I'm
to
hearing
15.
I'm hearing 7 for a lot of people.
A lot of people. So what I would say is if I would tell my client, you ask these 3 questions. Do I have full replacement costs on my structure? Mm-hmm. What is the coverage on my roof? Because you need to know that based on the age of it and all that. Be very specific and ask, because we're talking to real estate agents and we're salespeople, right?
Yeah.
I've just noticed in my industry, other agents will not that they will lie, they just may not bring it up.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm going to say it, because unfortunately in my industry it is, I bought this house for X, I need this X coverage, $400,000. And what's my premium? A lot of people don't ask everything that's in between that.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that's the 2 most important. The third one would be all my stuff. How's it covered? Mm-hmm. I know that's not a part of a real estate transaction, but I think everything you have, you put in the house is if you collect it, that's your second biggest thing you've spent money on besides your home. So how is my things covered?
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you one that jewelry, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People, that is probably the most underinsured thing people have. Ladies and people have these necklaces and rings, and I wear a Rolex myself. They don't insure them, and they wear them around, and it's because I don't think it's talked about enough.
Yeah.
So your things, just overall your things, describe your things to the agent you're working with, and make sure that your things are properly insured. Because insurance is like a car. I say, you can go buy a truck at a Ford dealership, F-150. It's got the same motor, same transmission, same everything, but the features you buy, right?
Yes.
You can buy a base model, or you can buy it fully loaded. So I would say the base model has to have at least a structure full replacement. Then you have all the bells and whistles. Mm-hmm. So, I just think... is
that where warranties come in for them?
Yes, basically. You know what I mean? Because
I learned
you
that
got to think,
on
if
my
you got
last
leathers, like adding what I call sewer backup and drain.
Yeah.
That's reverse water flow. If you have navigation, it's like having replacement costs on something. Sometimes on the base model, you just have some good, healthy, structured coverage, and some of the other things might not be there, Some of the luxuries, we'll call the luxury coverages.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the stuff, because I struggled with that years ago, because I started acquiring guitars and amps, and I start putting a list together, and it's like I've got over $75,000 worth of stuff,
and that's unique, right?
In one room. Yeah,
it's unique to the
Which room is it, and what's your address?
And is there a window?
it's in my
multiple.
yeah, it's in my music studio, and it's high security around those places, so good
Well
luck.
insured, right?
Those
Well
those
insured.
little dogs you got.
Yeah, my dogs, and it's insured. But I had to, like, all my insurance guys in the beginning were like, I don't know, like, we can't cover all that, and I had to just basically go to the music community and say, how are you guys doing this? And there's a company called Music Pro, and you just give them a list of your stuff and how much it's worth, and it's a $200 deductible, and it covers it anywhere I am on
If
the
you're
road.
on a show or anything, yep.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it was super easy to do. It was just hard to find,
Yeah.
But important to consider and to think about.
Because people collect stuff.
Yeah.
We love our stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might as well insure, make sure it's protected, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain real quick the roof thing when we're talking about how insurance companies are basing it off of the 7 years, as early as 7 years, so that I think that's a really important
probably
thing.
the biggest thing.
Biggest thing. And I have a story to share.
I can tell how we handle it, and so this is important because when we use the term actual cash value, and let's just be real, insurance companies even get creative with terms, right? That's a very gray term. Before, when I first started Farmers, for example, when it was an actual cash value policy, they would show up, and it was like eyes of the adjuster, right? If it was a 30-year roof, he used his eyes to go, it looks about half worn out, and it was a mess, by the way, because it depends if he had if he got yelled at the house before. What do you think, the house before went bad? You think he was nice at the second house?
Yeah.
That's what my theory always was. I'm like, man, if someone pisses him off,
Yeah.
the next house may get less money.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to get paid because I'm the agent. I make percentages of what you give the company.
Yeah.
So I'm like, pay them so they're happy and they like me.
Yeah.
But like, I'll give you an example. So what Farmers does is it's a straight percentage. So I'm going to say it's 100% is full replacement on a roof. What we do is they do a direct percentage. So at year 13, they deduct it, and it's 4% of year of the age of the roof. And they'll depreciate down to 30% of the value. They'll never go all the way to zero, but they'll go down to 30%. So you'll see about a 4% per year.
Okay.
So if your roof's a $50,000 roof, 4% of that per year will roll off. In that scenario,
You said that starts after 7?
well, it depends on the company. That's important to ask.
okay.
Like, my roof coverage, is it actual cash value or replacement? And I know in Oklahoma, a lot of things automatically are switching to actual cash value. Those are really important questions to ask about your roof because.
So with the roll off that you're talking about, that's if they're using actual cash value, not replacement.
If you have replacement, you're just talking what's the cost of roof minus your deductible.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to
What's better for the consumer?
replacement.
Okay.
Because
it's just a higher premium, right?
It's a higher premium, but we're talking a few $100 a year if you're qualified for it, right? Say the age of the roof qualifies for it. We're talking about a few $100 a year for, what are you going to think? We'll go $100,000 roof for round numbers. At a 4% that knockoff per year, 5 years, that's $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would rather pay $500 a year when my roof's 5 years old to get a $20,000. But like Farmers doesn't do any depreciation the first
When
5.
you're saying that depreciation, like when that rolls off, like that's like what they're telling you the value of what they're going to pay
Their
you
percentage
back.
of what they're going to pay you
yeah.
based on the value
They're
of that roof.
depreciating your asset.
Yeah, your roof.
And how much they'll be willing to pay you out.
Yeah, so they're going to pay you 78% the cost of that roof, for example, and when that's one of those
So
scenarios.
you definitely want replacement value.
You've got to, and then, I mean, that's just the part that I thought about this before we got here today. We obviously, as we're talking about, roofs are not expensive. Like if a roof is 15 years old, like how do you want to almost negotiate a roof in your deal? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
If, you know,
I mean, yeah,
And that's what happens a lot.
That's what's starting to happen. But so then the 7 year that's going off of an actual cash value type of policy.
yeah. Well, the roof itself kicks into that, not the structure. And if you have
So you have replacement value, and then they're switching over to that.
just the roof. Yeah.
After 7 years.
Yeah, just the roof.
That's important to distinguish. And so,
And another one, real quick, before
Yeah,
I go,
sure.
that companies are doing is when I first started, hell would come in your soft metals, your garage doors, your vents, your the frames of your window seals that are all metal, if they were cosmetically damaged, I'm called ugly, but functionable, insurance companies would pay.
Yeah.
Now you have to endorse what I call ugly coverage. Because if it gets hit and it's functionable and that coverage is not there, they won't replace it. So you have to. We actually have an endorsement. It's called cosmetic coverage to metal. So
Would you be willing to change the name in our policy to ugly coverage?
it should be. It would stick out more, right?
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so that one, believe it or not, because you got to think if we do get hell, that's soft metal. They know factor wise they're going to have to replace it. So
Yeah.
it's actually, believe it or not, it's even sometimes it's costly depending on if you have a metal house or a metal roof. Imagine that cost.
Like barndominiums or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, imagine the cost of that because they know they're paying if hell comes.
Yeah.
So, but who would want a brand new, beautiful home, your biggest asset in your
Nobody.
life, and then have your hell did up, your window seals, and your
Extra
garage
value.
doors?
Yeah, no one wants that.
Yeah, so I would say because I wanted a lot of people, and that's another coverage I would say industry wise, the agent may just not bring it up
Yeah.
because I noticed it. I get clients from other companies that may be the issue they're coming over for,
Yeah.
right? Disappointment, a claim, or everything. I just think it's really important. Like for me and my agency, I'm a volume guy. We're going to do our standard. I'm going to give you the Cadillac or the stripped down model. And we're just going to talk to so many people. We're going to do business with people who relate to us and want to do business with us. But it's usually in a home buying person. Y'all know how it is. It's a find the home. It feels great. Sign the papers. And then it's a hustle process. And they're dealing with so much and they're so focused on the home. I don't think people take the time to stop for 10 minutes and actually understand their insurance.
Yes.
Or really any part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just think it's important. Maybe another thing I would say is just encourage them to ask those questions and just say, take the time to spend 10 or 15 minutes with the agent.
Yeah.
during
And if
this
you do it
process.
up front, it's easier.
That's what I was going to
Easy.
say. It's so important, and
don't just make it a price decision.
Yeah, and most agents, like if they don't know all of this, I still think
There's that
it's
piece too.
It's okay, but get them over to your agent as soon as possible. We actually have a form in our loops for our agents to have their customer reach out to their agent, and we recommend, hey, call Paul. He can talk to you about it like immediately when you go under contract, and they don't have to call you. They can, but it puts it on their radar. I need to be reaching out to my insurance agent, because what ends up happening is we get to the week of closing and the lender says, I need your insurance policy or I can't approve this loan.
Yeah.
And we need to get it on the settlement statement. And so now they don't have time to go over all of the different factors about the house that they're purchasing and how insurance is going to be impacted or affected, and so they're making those rash decisions. So
Rash decisions, and they're based on what a mortgage broker told them. I need your
Yeah.
premiums at
Yeah.
$4,500 a year. Go make a decision.
Go-
So they're
go
not
figure
asking
it out.
questions. They're
Yeah.
looking for $4,500.
Yes.
and they're gonna decrease the coverage to get to that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not knowing what that actually means. And then if they do get the coverage that they need, the cost is going up so much that it could affect their debt to income ratio. It could, but we've had deals bust because they didn't get insurance. They didn't talk about it soon enough.
My suggestion, even what you're saying, is have the proper coverage. That way you don't have loopholes of what's going to be paid. And if I take any risk, I want it through my deductible. Then
Yeah.
I know my risk. This
Yeah.
is what's on me no matter what, but I have the amazing coverage.
Yeah.
And
That
so
makes
that's kind of
sense.
how I offset my personal premiums is I want the Cadillac for the catastrophe.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm willing to take this much on in the beginning of whatever happens to my home, because that'll offset and save me, premium.
As long as you know you can afford that
Yes.
deductible,
Yeah.
then it makes 100% sense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
to
hard
me.
choice for some people.
But you got to be able to
I even
have
tell-
those conversations.
I
and
feel like
have
there's
time.
a balance though at that point too, because
Yeah.
I've personally gone through a house fire and it's a lot. It drains you mentally, and everything is just like out of order. So, insurance, thank goodness I had Farmers at the time and they took very good care of me, but still I'm just glad I had good coverage,
Yeah. It's so important because you don't think about that stuff. You think,
It will never happen
that won't
to me.
happen to me. I had the house burned down too. Luckily, it wasn't my primary house and it wasn't all my stuff because it was devastating. Even though it was a vacant investment property.
Yeah. We were just having a great Sunday afternoon.
You know what I'm saying?
We were almost about ready to put on the market. We had remodeled it. It was all, we had all this work into it, and then burned down.
We were just having our Sunday lunch. I think RJ was over, and RJ just left our house. And then
that explains it.
I know, I blame RJ a little bit. And then he moved to Arizona right after that. Rude. Just kidding. But he left, and then I went to go start a fire in my fireplace. And then next thing I knew, we were outside in my pajamas, and the neighbor was coming over, and the firefighters were there. And I was just like watching from my roof to like collapse and just fall in.
Yeah,
it was such a
have
crazy
your chimney
time.
cleaned every few years.
When the GC came over, I was like, do you have to put that gas fireplace back in? And he just like looked at me and he's like, I mean, no. I said, good, rip it out and put an electric one in. And that's what we did. So
I think I was talking about like customers being prepared is really important because I feel like what people like to do, the habit that the consumers do is give me the house, give me the policy, I'll blame you later.
Yes.
You know, and that because it's just easier for them to just want to blame, and that's what we do now.
Well, I think it's presumed trust.
Yeah.
And then they get to the end, and because they had so much presumed trust, they get to point fingers, right?
Yeah. It's like you're getting insurance because there's a risk. And when you buy a house, there's going to be things that you have to do.
Well, it's such an important thing because I do reviews in my house. It's a big thing. You know, we our two biggest focuses outside of day-to-day care of clients is obviously we need new clients. We want to build and grow and take care of more people and make more money.
Yeah.
But those were reviews. And I've done this for so long, you got to change because you sit down with people every year and it's the same thing. So one of the questions I started asking the last few years was, have you ever read your policy? 0 people say yes.
Right.
0. I have asked hundreds of my clients, do you ever read your policy? 0. So, and to me, that's another big tool for us is the review, because what we do in the review is basically what we did when we sold you. We're bringing everything back out. We're going line by line through your coverage. It's explaining how because what if whenever you did business with me, your roof was 4 years old and now it's year 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to explain to you, hey, the roof's older now. This is the situation we're in. This is because here's what I always say. I sell a promise in a piece of paper. I'm usually the second highest bill compared to a mortgage. If you add up your health insurance, your auto, your home insurance is usually probably the second significant expense in your house. And so I got to make sure there's some value with it because I'm, I always joke. I'm like an insurance agent's like a lawyer. Nobody likes us till they need us, until your house catches on fire, till your car
That's a
has
good
an
point.
accident.
That's a good point.
So to me, I want to be able to set the expectations that you may not remember everything.
Sure.
But you remember the highlights enough to know when that fire happened, you feel safe before we even show up.
Yes.
I'm going to share a story real quick, and Paul's a part of this story because he actually looked at the policy and helped with it. But we had one of our agents had a deal. And this is why, this is like where knowing some of the stuff can really help, because if you don't and you allow a purchase to go through with your buyers and this were to happen, it could be catastrophic and devastating, even though you think you're doing all the things that you're supposed to. You're doing your inspections, you're getting your insurance, and then all of a sudden they get in and they don't have insurance. And so we had a deal where a roof was past the 7-8 year mark, and knowing that insurance companies were going to the actual cash value policies after that amount of time, we wanted to make sure that we got that roof inspected to make sure that it was going to be A, insurable, but B, that there weren't going to be any costly issues once they got into the property. Well, this house was very, I don't know if I don't want to say borderline. I'll say borderline because they had a roofer out that said that it was fine. That there was there's things that needed to be repaired, but overall, that was it. We had 2 roofers out, and they both said that it needed to be replaced. That the roof is damaged; it needs to be replaced. Knowing the age of it, I did not want 2 things to happen. We didn't want our buyer to end up purchasing this property, getting in, and then they send out, and insurance will send someone out and look at that house after the fact, and then send them a letter and say, by the way, your roof is not insurable because it's damaged, it's past its useful life, and if they even if they ended up getting an actual cash value policy, that it would be so depreciated at this point that they're going to be covering the full cost of that roof.
Yeah.
So knowing this, the worry was if we go through and they purchase this home, there is a chance, and I put it at 50-50, which is that's a huge risk that you're putting on your buyers, that they were going to have to replace this roof in order just to get insurance. Because if your roof is not insured, then insurance companies aren't going to insure the rest of the property because the roof protects everything else. And so what's been happening?
Not fence.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. But what's happening is insurance companies are going to homeowners and saying, if you don't replace this roof, then we're canceling your policy, and you no longer are going to have coverage on your house at all. And so that was a huge concern, and so that deal did not go through. Because they actually did file a claim, and the adjuster that came out, it was just somebody who sent it to some guy on a computer to make a decision, and it was one of those things where they just made a decision hoping that you would go away. And had we fought back, had they appealed it, I had several people saying that it was going to, they would overturn it. It was just one of those things where they want to make it a hassle for you so that they don't have to pay it out.
Well, let's be real. 1 out of 4 people probably walk away from that first no.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that saves them money. Let's be honest, right?
They know the game. They're running.
It's not on a memo, but it seems like an industry thing.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because it's just people.
So that's the next thing is if you get denied a claim, that doesn't mean that it's actually a denial.
Get a second look. Ask your company to give a second opinion.
Yeah.
And I felt, because of what both of these roofing companies were telling us, we felt very strongly that this roof needed to be replaced.
Yeah.
And we were going to get it overturned. And
the seller probably didn't want to push it because they didn't want to have to come out of pocket for the roof
That's
difference.
exactly what happened. The seller didn't want to push it, and so we left it up to the buyers, and the buyers thankfully were able to understand that they didn't want to take the risk of potentially the insurance company denying them insurance because it needed to be replaced.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to be aware of that, especially with your roofs. You don't want to, as an agent, that's not a call you want to receive. Why insurance is not covering me now?
And it's really ugly, by the way. So with the scenario you gave, there's small niche markets that you can find coverage. So you got to think it's going to be reduced, horrible, and 3 times the amount of regular coverage. They're going to pay you less and charge you more because they're analyzing that risk as a whole. I call it. They're going, well, if you buy a home and you're not even going to have a good roof on it, how are you going to take care of it? So now we're going to charge you
That makes
exuberant amount of money, even though that may not be the scenario. They're insurance companies just blanket scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because you, the individual. It is, typically speaking, people who have a crappy roof tend to leave their window open. They have fireplaces they don't clean.
Hey, I had a good roof.
I'm messing with you. But you know what I'm saying?
I just didn't know proper fireplace etiquette.
I can remember something my mentor taught me 20 years ago when I started the business. He's like, hey, when you pull up to a house to meet with them, go look at how they keep their car. It's how they'll keep their house.
That's interesting.
Now I look at inside of cars every time I pull up.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And by the way, it's true. A lot of times. Theoretically true. 8 out of 10 times,
Sure.
how they keep
Yeah.
their cars, how they keep their house.
That makes sense.
Numbers are
And
numbers.
insurance companies are smart and have millions of dollars. They are dialed in on projecting. Dialed in.
That's their job.
That's their job.
I sold a 40-year-old roof at my father-in-law's house. It's a 4,000 square foot house. This massive roof. We put it on the market. We get a buyer. The inspector's like, man, there's no hail in this thing, surprisingly. But he's like, you're just waiting for the day to start having problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brittle.
And-
you go
and
up
so
there,
they're-
stand on it, breaks apart. It's so old.
Yeah,
right?
so they're like, so we want a new roof, and my father-in-law's like, no, I'm not going to do that, and they're like, okay, and they bought it anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I had another one where I sold that house. I was the listing agent, and it was totaled by hail, and I felt bad because this is a veteran that was buying it from another veteran, and so they're going, this thing is totaled. And I said, well, we'll take a claim out on it. And my seller's going to do it. And the buyer's like, well, will that delay closing? We were getting close. We
Yeah.
were getting close.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, it will. And he's like, I don't want that. And so I
The
told the
human
agent,
need for now
I told
is
the
crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy,
I know.
right?
And so I told the agent, I was like, look, I don't want this veteran to be screwed over, like especially him being a veteran. Like, ask him again.
You need
Ask
that
him
needed
again.
real disclosures.
And she did. She's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't want to delay." He's like, "I got to get moved in."
Man.
And then my seller's like, "Are they sure?" And I'm
he
like,
created the biggest problem ever for himself on investment.
Yeah.
Well,
"Yeah,
the
It's
other
like
day,
saying, let me buy
we
this
gotta do what our
stock, but don't
customers
give me the
want.
dividends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Man.
Random fun fact though about fireplaces, because it's like, I don't know the statistics. Maybe you know, Paul, but
I'll make
like
it up if I
one
know.
of the highest. There you go. One
do
of the
that a lot on this
highest.
podcast.
95% of the
I'm
time.
directionally right all the time.
yeah, that's right."
But
That's how you make them feel.
That's right.
most house fires happen from fireplaces, but what I learned, it wasn't because, yes, I need to get a chimney sweep, and yes, you should do that, but actually the little keyhole that we have, the little gas key, you actually are supposed to have a plumber come out at least every year or two, especially if you use your fireplace a lot, because they put lubrication in there.
It's a packing nut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a rivet.
and it
Yeah.
works just like your water faucet, but the difference is your water faucet has water to keep it lubricated.
Yeah.
But if you have that key and use your fireplace a lot, then over time you just slowly create a tiny gas leak for yourself.
And you can't see gas leaks.
And you
obviously.
can't see it, and sometimes it's so small you don't smell it. And so unfortunately my pipe was actually corroded, and it was releasing some gas as I turned it on. So thank goodness I turned it off when I noticed there was a problem. But I tell everybody 2 things from that. Make sure you have code insurance, and make sure if you're buying a fireplace and you use it, call a plumber and make sure they take care of that every single
And just get
year.
Code
a good
insurance
realtor
is so
that's
important.
gonna get a good realtor that's gonna put you with a vendor, with an insurance agent who is just gonna do all that.
Yeah, and that was me. I had my good buddy, and they signed me up, and they didn't explain what code insurance was. And if people don't know what code insurance is,
It's huge.
Every single year, things get better, more safer. They come up with new products. So if you have a house that you bought in
code gets updated.
1980, yeah. And that was my issue, is I didn't have decking on my roof.
You had one
And-
bank. Yep.
And so insurance was like, you're going to have to pay $8,000 or $10,000. Forget what it was at the time, because I didn't have code insurance. Well, I threw a big fit because I said no one told me what code insurance was, and they ended up covering me. But I learned very quickly what that was, and now every time I'm always talking about it, because that's something too,
Especially
with
if an older
clients.
home.
If you have a home 20 years or older.
Clients
Yeah.
will say stuff all the time. They're like, that's not up to code. And I'm like, you're right. You're absolutely right. But We just want to make sure it's in good working order. There's no issue. And when you are shopping for insurance, make sure you're getting code insurance, which if you're shopping with a proper insurance agent, they're going to make sure you have that code insurance.
It is so inexpensive. And
It's so and I was mad because it was like $5 a year or something, and I was like, "Why didn't I have that?"
we just include it on everything because it's so inexpensive.
Yes,
And
I mean,
so
in the structure, home over 20 years old, a code insurance is going to get used 1 out of 5 times, and that's actually a really close directional
well,
percentage.
and code is changing all the time.
Oh,
so
yes.
it makes sense.
I'll give an example of how important it is. The decking is very common because the roof, back to the hell in the roof thing overall, right? But electrical. So I'll give an example of how important code is. Say you had a small kitchen fire, right? We show up, the insurance company shows up, assesses the damage from the fire, writes a check and leaves. And say that house is built in 1965. Because what the codes will do is when they change a code, anything new going forward has to match that or whatever, that law, that rule.
and the contractor can't put it on unless it's up to code.
And if something is ever, you grandfather into things before until it's damaged, then you got to bring it to code. So in the scenario of a fire, I mean, it was totally contained to the kitchen. And so that we show up, we pay out, we leave, contractor goes in behind, starts pulling the permits to do the repairs. Well, the house was built in the 60s. Total electrical upgrade
Oh, man.
throughout the house, even the undamaged parts of the fire. So that code coverage, even though the fire was just in the kitchen, it will actually pay for the rest of the electrical in the house because you got to think that it's all congruent, right?
Yeah.
So if they have to, they're not going to just go, well, replace the kitchen. You don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that will actually be, if there's a total loss or if there is a loss that is covered, code will bring things to code that are affected to code that were not affected by the fire. So code coverage is super important. I mean, it gets used a ton. It gets used, especially in your markets. You know, you got to think your most sought after suburbs, right? Usually have the most stringent rules. They keep property values up, this and that. So I would say, like in our area, you know, Norman, Edmond, Yukon, Mustang, the areas where the big developments are, they usually have the most strictest codes and the most changing because in their mind, those cities, we're protecting values, we're making sure these homes are
Makes
amazing and all of that. So usually where the people want to go is where there's the most code changes.
So get code insurance.
Everything runs hand in hand, right? There's more going in, there's going to be more regulation, I guess.
Is that one of the biggest things that bite people, or is it that, and then like sewer backup and and then the way people like present things to their claims, like they had a flood but now they got denied because
I think rising waters, flood, reverse water, sewer and drain. Back to the roof thing. Here's how that code kicks in. By the way, you grandfather in, but as soon as that roof gets peeled off from damage and that old decking's exposed, that's when you're out of code. So imagine in that scenario, like you lucky you got to throw a fit and they paid you, to be honest with you. Farmers is kind of good at that.
That's why I'm
sometimes I don't necessarily agree with it. Like, hey, because I know I'm very thorough with coverage, and you say I didn't do that. I'm like, no, they didn't buy it.
Yeah.
right.
I wasn't with your office.
Yeah, I know. Because you would have had code insurance. But you got to think, now your roof is exposed and you got a $10,000 decking problem. What in the hell are you going to do now?
Oh, yeah. I was like single and making $30,000 a year. It was stressful.
Well, let's be honest. Unfortunately, we're in America. We're in a materialistic America. How many people got $10,000 as a percentage?
Right.
Yeah.
Just setting in the bank.
I wouldn't even want to pay it right now.
Use it. Yeah.
And do you think they want to use it for something to do with insurance claim?
Especially a roof.
Way.
They got told no.
Yeah.
No, we're not paying for that. Use that $10,000 you got in the bank. Use 8 of it.
I think they put like window cleaning or something on my thing, and that's how they covered to pay for my decking.
He got real creative.
Yeah, they did. They were very, very helpful. I had to talk to like a investigator and all kinds of stuff that like asked me questions to make sure that I really wasn't offered code insurance. But
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah,
That is interesting. Well, no, I'm not going to get into that. Actually, never mind. So, we tend to do this a lot. We tend to get on topics for quite a bit of time, but it's all good stuff. And hopefully you guys got a lot out of that and see the importance of insurance, having a good, partnership with an insurance agent for all you realtors out there. You need to have people that you trust that you can send people to, because
they're not all created equal.
Yeah, there's
same thing with like roofers, right?
I mean, just think about how much we have to know about what we do in real estate sales.
Like, just like you guys,
they have to know. They know that much in their industry, and so have somebody that you trust so you can send them and know that they're getting taken care of.
And make sure it's not somebody, because we are in a sales industry, and there's plenty of people out there that will just do it just to get the sale. And it's like, if you're in this for the longevity, then you want good people that are going to actually educate and sell them at the same time.
Yep. You might have a cousin's brother's uncle that is in insurance, and they decided to switch careers, and they've been doing it for 6 months, and they're just clocking in and clocking out. But you
ask them if they can afford gas money this week, and that'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, insurance agents are like real estate agents. We're not all created equal.
Not all created equal.
No.
So you can have great relationships out there, but you want to make sure that your people are going to be looked out after and taken care of, and so you got to find trusted partners.
Yeah, if you're a consumer and you're looking for a house, and you wait till the last second to make any phone calls, you're asking for liability, because if you call a bad agent who has a bad relationship with a bad insurance guy, I mean, it's just not going to end up well. And because people every once in a while get a client be like, hey, like, we're not ready for probably 6 more months, but we just want to start the conversation. Is that okay? And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, let's get this conversation going.
People will take longer to make a decision on what color shoe they want to buy than the insurance policy they buy.
Yeah.
That's probably
that's
a
wild.
fact.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like 99.9%.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, you got to have it, so let me just do the best I can with it. I'll sign the papers.
They think it all's the same. That's what I think the unfortunate thing is. They just think all of this works the same
until they have a claim.
Yeah, until they have a claim. Yeah.
So if you don't have a trusted insurance partner, we highly, highly recommend Paul's office. He has a great team around him. Quick story of how even we got connected to him is that I needed a new policy for our business and reached out to his office and I had reached out to a couple of offices and
they all suck.
And we have, several. Well, yeah, they didn't get back with me. They didn't. Essentially, we have several policies that are going to need to be insured in the future. Several things that we have, and this policy that I was needing to get at the time was it was like $500 a year or something like that.
So it was like low man on the totem pole.
Super.
Paul made $1.
Yeah, maybe didn't even make any money on it. I don't know. But anyways, when we called and tried to get it figured out, he treated me like I was the most important client at the time for something so small, so tiny, and got back with us. We got it into place within a couple of days, and
now he has a whole brokerage.
Yeah, and the rest is history. And we're gonna have other policies that we're gonna be looking at here soon. So it's just like,
that's just a testimony of him and his work ethic.
For sure. And so if you need a trusted partner, we highly recommend Paul. I can say that with certainty. So
we treat everybody the same. I don't care if your premium's $1 or $1 million.
Can I get that one? Can I get that dollar?
Nurture it all.
Yeah.
The dollar, I don't know what we're going to be insuring.
Yeah.
Your ant farm. But,
That's right.
And Squish is not covered.
And your deductible is $500.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, I have a different game to play. It's not really a game. It's just a question instead of a would you rather.
Okay.
Okay, Paul, you can start. If you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, one thing, what would it be?
Like a particular
item.
Food item? But you're not saying
Man, that's hard.
all breakfast or lunch.
No.
I've got a
just
great
anything.
quick answer. Give me a taco.
So
Easy.
then that's all you can eat for the rest of your life? Just eat tacos?
Yeah.
I'll bring the chips and queso then, because I think that's what I'll eat.
That's what you would have?
Oh, I
mean, I love chips and queso.
love
See,
chips
she's
and
always
queso.
like getting around the question, isn't she? She's like, well, I'll bring the chips and queso so then we can have two things.
Yeah. Well,
No, I didn't say I was going to
But
eat
Paul-
the taco.
Well, you can't because it's his taco.
I
And
chose.
He can't eat
so
your
don't
chips
even
and
try
queso.
to tell our
You get
viewers.
vegetables, you get your carbs, you get your protein.
Yeah.
It's all wrapped in one.
That's a good one, man. But I think I got to go. That's a close second, but I think I probably got to go with the breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a breakfast person. I honestly would do. Mine's going to be very broad, so I can have lots of choices. But I would do.
Talk shit on him.
I would do pastries. Any pastries.
That's a good one.
Because,
Get your sweets and your protein.
Sweets, bread. I mean, it's there's so much.
I'm still gonna stick with chips and queso because if Jennifer even makes fun of me, she's like, she didn't even ask me where we're going for lunch. She's like, we're going to Mexican, aren't we? And I was like, I mean, if you're down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, same.
Sure, if you want.
And I will add a caveat to this. Like, I would only do that when I answer that question. It's with the mindset of like it doesn't affect your health. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of out of the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll still be a taco. I don't care.
I mean,
It was
I would
a
do a
perfect
taco. I would do a taco if it was going to affect your health.
It is what it is, you know?
But like,
I mean, a taco.
not pastries, because
You could-
that would just be terrible for the rest of your life.
You could eat healthy with a taco or eat
Right.
fattening with a taco.
Right.
I read a good meme once. It's like, you ever seen a woman pissed off eating chips and queso? And I'm like,
See?
no, I haven't. And so like that night, Claire, my wife was not happy about something. I can't remember what it was. And so I DoorDash Mexican food. I go, we got Uncle Julio's on the way. She's like, really? And it was a great evening.
Some of the best
It worked.
advice I ever got.
I don't fall for those, but like I'm totally in that women box then.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I had my best advice I ever got when I was young in the business. Mentor said, deliver bad news over lunch. Nobody's mad when they're eating.
Yeah. There you go. Good advice.
It's like I'm so sad, but I'm gonna eat this chip one more time.
That's right.
Yeah, you heard.
What was
you
yours,
heard first.
Casey?
He said a
What?
breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, breakfast
Oh, he
sandwich.
did. Okay.
In particular, I mean, it could.
The
well,
Carl's Jr. one, or what's
What?
the one we always talk
the
about?
Whataburger breakfast on a
that
bun.
one.
It's
Is that
legit.
what you're talking
I would
about?
love
I
to
felt
get
that
sponsored by
passion, by
that,
the way, when you
dude.
said it.
There's something about that sandwich, man. It's fast food too, but it's just so delicious.
I mean, I get it.
See, my stomach's
I
growling
was like,
thinking about it.
whose stomach was that?
Yeah, Lee, I need a
Just
breakfast
sit
on a
right
butter right
sandwich.
I think the
now.
microphone probably picked that up.
The sausage one though, not their bacon's not very good at Whataburger.
Bacon is like
And yeah, I say
people
Whataburger
can't
because
do
that's
it.
how I grew up saying it. It's not Whataburger, it's Whataburger.
what I call
Water.
it Whataburger.
Well, it's not. It's not what it is.
It's
Are you from
Whataburger?
Texas, Casey?
What a burger? No, I'm from here.
Okay.
How do you know? Let's look up.
Well, look how it's spelled.
Yeah, that's how it's spelled.
But how do they say it on the commercial?
What a burger.
Oh, that makes sense.
In fact, they say it just like that too.
Who wants a water burger?
Yeah, like a little soggy
Damn,
water
I love
burger. Yeah. Hey man,
Dang.
Oh man.
good
This
stuff.
is like the
Well,
Mandela
it's a good
effect.
drunk food too because when I was younger,
Whatever.
when people are coming home from the bars, like they start serving their breakfast at 11.
Oh yes.
So it's like people are like, I'm going to Taco Bell. I'm like, I'm going to Whataburger.
No, get a honey
What
butter
a
chicken
burger.
biscuit.
Yeah, what a burger. All right, well, we'll finish it off there. Paul, thanks for being on, man. We really
thank you, guys.
appreciate it. And thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. If there's any other topics that you guys want us to discuss, we're happy to. And we're going to sign off. I'm Casey Tudor. This is Curtis Haddock, Paul Harrington, and Brooke Massey.
Sorry, Paul.